everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com, back again with some more lovely wrestling news. Now, Tom, of course, has already put out a video earlier today detailing some of the stories that have broken recently, but I'm going to detail the rest of the stories that have broken recently. Tom has also put out his NXT graded. Don't miss that video. It should already be up on the channel because, of course, NXT was on Tuesday this week. It was Super Tuesday 2, and there were some big matches as well, so do check out his graded video. But without any further ado, let's focus on this news video and let's take a look at our headlines. So first of all, 3 members of WWE's Retribution stable have apparently been revealed. Next up, Marty Jannetty has provided a bit of a strange update on his weird ongoing legal situation. And finally, we take a look at which WWE superstar Matt Cardona, aka Zack Ryder, hated working with. So recently, of course, on Monday Night Raw, Retribution cut their first real promo. They didn't just turn up and trash the place. They appeared on the screens and cut a promo, and various different members of the stable were sort of identifiable, or at least partly identifiable, especially with some visual manipulation carried out by the good folk of theinternet.com. And this has kind of gone around all the news sources and everything, but on Wrestling Observer Radio, Meltzer and Alvarez did seem to confirm the identities of 3 members of this Retribution stable. So Alvarez said, we now have 5 members, one of them, because 5 people were in shot during this promo, one of them is clearly Dominik Dijakovic, and one of them is clearly Mia Yim. And then Meltzer chimed in and added, one of them is Mojo Rawley. So they seem to be 3 of the 5 that have been somewhat certifiably identified. Or at least it's a decent guess by both Meltzer and Alvarez and just various different members of the online wrestling fandom. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to be leading Retribution in storyline, of course, because at the moment with the lockdown and everything, WWE are very limited on who they can bring in and out of the actual Thunderdome. So maybe they are just extra bodies there to portray a certain member of Retribution, but they'll not necessarily be unmasked as a definitive member of the group. They're kind of like extras almost, in a way. So that doesn't necessarily mean that Mojo, Mia and Dominik will definitely be revealed as members of the group. However, there has been, of course, a lot of speculation that Dominik Dijakovic is going to be a big member of the group, possibly even its leader. There was a lot of speculation about that even weeks and weeks ago when the angle was first kicking off. I would also suggest that because of the mission statement given by Retribution on Raw, you know, the whole we've been cast aside to feed on the scraps and now we're coming back to take revenge and take what is ours, I feel like Mojo Rawley would kind of fit the group as well, potentially, just thematically, because of course he's often been given little hints of creative opportunities or a turn here or there, or the very beginnings of a push in WWE, only for that to be kind of, you know, taken away. So I feel like it would fit Mojo's character, maybe not Mia Yim so much. I don't really see that working with her current, you know, ongoing situation in NXT, really, that particular theme or storyline. But in the case of Mojo, I do see it kind of fitting him quite well, because he's been there a lot longer and has been given a lot more opportunities, which he's then had taken away. Dijakovic as well could well be the leader of the group, I suppose, but we'll have to monitor the situation, keep an eye on all the stories, and let you know when we find out certain things. Next up, I must issue a bit of a spoiler warning because we're going to talk about the results of last night's NXT Super Tuesday 2. So if you haven't seen the show and you're planning to catch up on it and you don't want to know the results, then do stop paying attention for a little while right about now. So the big match last night on NXT was, of course, the match between Finn Balor and Adam Cole for the vacant NXT Championship, which was vacated by the very unfortunate Killer Cross, or Karrion Kross, I should say. I always call him Killer Cross by accident. Karrion Kross, who obviously was forced to vacate the title when he got injured in the match that he won it from Keith Lee. Then, of course, last week on NXT, we had that 4-way, 60-minute Iron Man match between Cole, Balor, Gargano, and Ciampa. It ended in a 2-way tie between Cole and Balor, with Cole actually pinning Balor right at the death, right at the buzzer, to secure the tie and set up a rematch this week for the vacant title. No stipulations, just one-on-one. Here we go. Who's going to be the new champion? And of course, both men have been NXT champion before, Cole much more recently than Balor, of course, but I can now reveal that the new NXT champion is Finn Balor. I think that most people might have predicted this because, of course, having Balor as the champion is a lot more refreshing than having Cole as the champion. It's not been that long since Cole's really, really long title reign, whereas it has been quite a few years since Balor held the belt. I feel like either man would have been a good choice, though. They can both put on excellent matches. Cole can cut excellent promos, man, but Balor's quite a mysterious, and he's got that certain mystique about him, doesn't he? And of course, he's Finn Balor. He's the more popular name generally, if WWE are concerned about NXT's ratings, for example. Another interesting development, though, after the match on social media and stuff was that Cole actually went backstage and congratulated Balor, and they shared a two-sweet, both, of course, being former members of the Bullet Club. Now, this is another heavy indication that if he's not babyface already, Adam Cole will be turning face soon. There's been a bit of subtle dissension in the ranks of the Undisputed Era recently, and it seems very much like Cole could be splitting away from the group, or maybe it could become fractured in some sort of way. The other big match of the night saw Rhea Ripley take on Mercedes Martinez in a steel cage match, and Rhea Ripley was able to pick up the victory in what was a very hard-hitting, very fun, plunder-filled steel cage brawl. Lovely stuff. Two very different matches, both very good ones to bookend a good episode of NXT this week. Next up, right, here we go. So Marty Jannetty, of course, was recently in a bit of trouble. There was a lot of speculation going around about him because of something that he volunteered himself, a post that he put up himself, suggesting that sometime in the past he had actually murdered a man for basically attempting a sexual advance upon him. So Jannetty insinuated that in around 1973, he killed a man who tried to sexually assault him during a weed deal and then dumped his body in a river. The Columbus Police Department reportedly then launched an investigation into this allegation, or self-allegation, I don't know. But Jannetty this week has taken to Facebook to try and clarify a few things and basically clear his name and say, no, this was all just an angle, apparently, and he wanted it to all lead up to something and then play out in the ring. He's basically claiming it was a storyline. These are some snippets from that Facebook post saying, I did not murder that man, it was just the beginning of a damn wrestling storyline, but oh my god, didn't the world buy it? All major news outlets worldwide jumped on this story. It got so hot I had to drop it. When my Columbus Police Department got involved, I knew I had to drop it. I even got pulled out of line at the Columbus, Georgia, that is. I even got pulled out of line at the Atlanta airport, headed to Boston, my TSA security brothers mostly laughing and getting autographs. But I had to let it go, it got too hot. I mean, I wanted to call the good people at the Columbus Police Department and tell them, no, don't waste taxpayers' money, nor your valuable time. It was just a wrestling storyline. But my brother Gino said, hell no, lay low, because they might want to make the newspapers. Very correct. Sorry about it's all a bit jumbled. So they might want to make the newspapers. They might want to get in the newspapers, and he was very correct. His brother Gino. I think I'm there with it. He carries on. The creator of the long-living barbershop window scene, of course, with Shawn Michaels, the breakup of the Rockers, just shook up the world again, and I wasn't even finished. Now, looking back, I should have done a few things differently. Should have called the police department first and told them what up. But that's how I do it. Maybe old school, but it works, don't it? By the way, the rest of the storyline was to be my friend Darren Kelly, who really was a correction officer, was to redeem himself by serving justice on me to earn back his stripes in a match stipulated with if he wins, he takes me in peace. If I win, he leaves me alone. But sadly now, we'll not get to do that storyline. Right. But he goes on, P.S. There is some truth in the original story. That's how you add on, and it all seems true. Right. I don't know. Obviously, Marty Jannetty has become a bit infamous on social media recently for his erratic posts, which, I mean, if he is, a decent guy and stuff, I hope he's all right, because it's not indicative of a person in a very sound, mental state of mind, is it? Hopefully he's not done anything terrible, either recently or in his past. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, but that's what I'm reporting. That's his update on the story. Next up, let's take a look at New Japan Pro Wrestling, who have announced the lineup, the full lineup, both A Block and B Block for this year's G1 Climax. There was a lot of speculation that because of the way that lockdown laws are going on in Japan and travel laws, that they would be able to get some foreign guys in, especially those who have residency in Japan, because they are being allowed back in the country or something, and then there's a period of isolation. So they have included a lot of names that we haven't seen for a long time in New Japan, as well as a whole host of regulars as well. And I'll quickly, for those who don't know how the G1 Climax works, it's New Japan's annual tournament. There's 2 blocks with 10 wrestlers each. All the wrestlers wrestle each other once and get points based on wins and losses. And then the top wrestler in each block, the A block and the B block, then face each other in a final, and the winner gets a title shot at the following January's Wrestle Kingdom. The champion at the moment is Tetsuya Naito. He is in the tournament, but if he wins, I assume he'll get to pick his challenger. So let's just go through all 20 men and see what you think. So in A block, we have Kota Ibushi, Kazuchika Okada, Tomohiro Ishii, Shingo Takagi, Yujiro Takahashi, Taichi, Minoru Suzuki, and then here come the foreign names, Jeff Cobb, Will Ospreay, and Jay White. 3 of them in the A block. We haven't seen White or Ospreay in New Japan for quite a while, but in terms of Cobb, he was wrestling under the New Japan banner in America in the American version of the New Japan Cup. He didn't win the tournament, but he was a competitor in it. Next up, the B block, we've got Hiroshi Tanahashi, Hiroki Goto, Toru Yano, Yoshihashi, Sanada, Tetsuya Naito, Tetsuya Naito being the current champion, of course, Evil, Zack Sabre Jr., Kenta, and Juice Robinson. There we see Zack Sabre Jr. and Juice Robinson, once again, people that we haven't seen. Actually, no, we've seen Zack recently. We've seen Zack a bit more recently, but we haven't seen Juice Robinson for a little while in New Japan, so he'll certainly be excited to be back and straight into the G1 Climax. Now, as exciting as that is for fans of these, foreign imports, or they're regular New Japan guys by now, I don't know if you can call them imports, but it's exciting for fans of these guys, but it's also disappointing for fans of people who may have been given a chance had the travel laws extended a little bit longer. People like, for example, Hanare, who was tweeting angry emojis all over Twitter today, or Gabriel Kidd, who was, of course, really impressed as a young lion in the absence of many other regulars because he just happened to move to Japan before, the pandemic kicked off. So that is the full lineup for the G1 Climax, and, the tournament is usually full of great wrestling. It's usually a highlight of the wrestling year. Not sure how it's going to work with, limited crowd capacity and all that sort of stuff, but they are going on tour around Japan, as they often do, and we'll just see how it develops. Remember, the winner gets a title shot at Wrestle Kingdom in January. And finally, and I don't know how seriously I take this story because they do seem like good friends, but Matt Cardona, formerly known, of course, as Zack Ryder in WWE, now with AEW, has revealed which WWE superstar he hated working with. And it's none other than his own tag partner / rival, Mojo Rawley. That's right, it's a double Mojo Rawley news video. How exciting Adam Pacitti is beside himself because that's his favourite wrestler and person in the world. Now, in an interview with Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, Matt Cardona said, "I love Mojo personally. I hated working with him professionally. It was Triple H. I believe it was his idea to put us together. And if it was Triple H's idea and this was an opportunity for me, but actually, it's because of going down to NXT so often that I ended up moving to Orlando. So it's actually all because of Mojo, really, that I met Chelsea Green, because I met her in Orlando. So really, I've got to thank Mojo for all of this." But now he goes on, after giving credit to Mojo for his relationship and everything, he goes on to talk about Mojo and what he was like to work with. He was always a hard worker and always wanted to try different things. He always wanted to learn. But at the point when we became the Hype Bros on WWE TV, I was kind of over it already. We'd already been doing it for a year or so in NXT and not really doing anything in NXT, just being there. I somehow became the IC champion, but the day before, I'm at Access teaming with Mojo as the Hype Bros. I like that little detail. He then goes on to say, "I got injured." I feel like he's joking a bit, but I got injured and the first thing that popped in my mind was, oh my god, yes, the Hype Bros are done. Then Mojo went on to win the WrestleMania Battle Royal that year. I was like, oh my god, they're definitely done. But I ended up making my big comeback in a backstage pre-tape with Mojo saying, "I'm back, bro." Then we worked on the kickoff match against Epico and Primo, and I'm like, well, back to the Hype Bros again. He does go on, however, even though he was frustrated being stuck in the Hype Bros and was over the gimmick in his own words, he does go on to give credit to Mojo as a wrestler, saying he has a great promo, he can do it all vocally, and in the ring I think he's great too. He's a great heel. I think as a babyface, he's too annoying for me personally. Sometimes I would literally facepalm and shake my head on the apron for real when we were teaming. But I love working with Mojo, believe it or not. A lot of fun, and he listens, and he's good. I can't believe I just said that publicly. So it sounds like, when he's against Mojo and Mojo is the heel, Matt Cardona is absolutely fine with that. It's just having to be one half of the hypest team in pro wrestling that maybe grinded on his gears a little bit. But I can't imagine why. So that's it for this news video. Thank you very much for watching. As I mentioned, do check out Tom's Graded and his other news video earlier today on this very channel. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. Thank you once again for watching. Leave your thoughts and opinions on any of these stories in the comments section down below. Stay safe out there, keep yourselves positive, and I'll see you very soon.